The story starts on June 4th, 1944. On that day, American tanks and GIs from the U.S. Fifth Army rolled into the ancient streets of Rome. This was a massive deal. It was the first Axis capital to fall to the Allies. For a world desperate for good news, this should have been front-page, banner headline material everywhere. The Pope himself came out to bless the troops. The psychological blow to the Axis was immense, but getting there had been absolute hell. The road to Rome was paved with some of the most brutal fighting of the entire war. For months, Allied forces had been battering their heads against the formidable German defenses known as the Gustav Line. Battles with names like Monte Cassino and Anzio became legends of endurance and sacrifice. At Cassino, a historic monastery was bombed to rubble, and soldiers from dozens of nations fought and died on the unforgiving mountainsides. At the Anzio beachhead, Allied troops were pinned down for 4 agonizing months, enduring constant shelling in what they grimly called the world's largest self-propelled prisoner of war camp. Finally, in late May, the line broke. The exhausted German forces began a tactical retreat north, and the path to Rome was suddenly open. General Mark Clark, commanding the American forces, made a controversial decision to drive directly for the capital, instead of trying to encircle the retreating German 10th Army. He wanted the glory of taking the Eternal City, and he got it. On June 4th, the city was his. The people of Rome, who had endured years of fascist rule and a brutal 9-month German occupation, exploded with joy. They flooded the streets waving makeshift Allied flags, climbing onto tanks, handing out wine and flowers to the bewildered American soldiers. They were finally free. For the Germans, it was an orderly withdrawal. They pulled out of the city, declaring it an open city to avoid a destructive street-to-street battle, and retreated north to dig in at their next defensive line. Rome itself, the city of Caesars and popes, was saved from destruction. This was a monumental strategic and propaganda victory. The fall of Rome proved the Axis was beatable, that their fortress was crumbling. Newspapers should have been shouting it from the rooftops for weeks, but they didn't, because just 2 days later, on June 6, 1944, the entire world's attention snapped across the continent to the beaches of northern France. D-Day, the largest amphibious invasion in human history, had begun. The Normandy landings were so massive, so audacious, that they completely eclipsed the news from Italy. The liberation of Rome was relegated to a side story, a footnote in the week's events. The soldiers who fought and died on the long, bloody road to Rome became known as the D-Day Dodgers. Their incredible achievement overshadowed in an instant. It became the forgotten victory of World War II. If you enjoyed this trip down the rabbit hole, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Smart History for Dumb Times. And if you feel like fueling more historical deep dives, the link to buy me a coffee is in my bio.